So I'm just troubleshooting this 3-door Sierra fuel tank sender. The original problem was it was completely seized, so the car had been in storage for a few years and this part here had just basically got seized in there, so I've freed that up. But when I put it back on the car, it's still not reading right. If you put it to full size, if you sort of pretend it to be full, the gauge goes full, but if you do any part thereof, then it seems to not read right. So I've just cleaned this up using a fiberglass pencil, which is sort of what we use in electronics industry to clean up the edge connectors. I've very gently cleaned up the basically just the surface corrosion, and I would say, looking at it, that's a resistor network in there. So I'm just going to buzz it out a little bit more and try and work out what's wrong with it. But yeah, there's definitely a resistance in that wiper, so I'm not going to look at that. So I'll just clean this up. Obviously trying to avoid the carbon, actually, because the carbon's what's giving it the sort of the resistance. But we'll carry on. Let's give these a bit of a clean up as well. Shouldn't get these on my fingers because it's fiberglass, like all fiberglass. Get it on you and it's going to hurt. It's looking a bit cleaner now. Alright, we'll just give it a clean up and another test. Take some values for reference, but yeah, these are embedded resistors on here. So from here to here, you're getting 41 ohms. Hopefully you can see that. And then if we go again across the top, so 40 ohms, 60 ohms, 80 ohms essentially, 100 ohms essentially, 115 ohms. My eyesight, I think that one's test point there, 133, that's one there, 150, 170, 190 essentially, 206, and on the end 224. And again, coming down here, from here there's another embedded resistor here, so I don't know if I think that's below a layer, but here there's a resistor there. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. There's an embedded resistor there. So 20 ohms, and then again going back over 30, 40, 50. I wonder whether it's been wired up wrong. I don't know. I'll have to do some research on this. I don't know why it's got dual tracks on it. 60. Maybe they're using the wrong tracks. 80. Being wired up wrong, I wonder. 105, 133, 181, 250. That's jumped up a lot, but there's some resistors there as well. And then the last one, 260, and then this is the wiper, so it's 0 ohms here at this point where I've scratched off the coating a bit. Says it should be dead short, yeah. And then immediately after that So this part of the wiper, 180, and then there's another resistor network here. So there, 1.39k. So I'm not sure why there's two tracks. I wonder whether this is two senders in one for different gauges. When I put it in the car, if you put it to full, the gauge shows full, but if you put it to half, the gauge just goes down to like empty. So I thought that I had a bad contact or something, but I'm now wondering, this is a car that I've bought and the gauge didn't work at all because this was seized up. I'm cleaning all this up, but I wonder whether it's been wired up wrong. I'll have to go and look at the diagrams. I don't recall seeing dual tracks on the circuit diagrams, so I'll have a look at that, see if I can figure it out. Okay, I understand a bit more about how this works now. I put it back in the car. I assumed wrongly that inner wiper was like the common for the other two, but it's not. The common is this spring, and basically it's all corroded around here, so it's making a bad connection. So in addition to cleaning up the tracks, I need to clean this up as well, and make sure that spring's nice and clean and it's making a good connection. That's what the problem is. I effectively found that out by putting a voltmeter across the brown. I can't remember what colour pin that is now. I'll double check. But you put a voltmeter and it just swings between about 4 or 5 volts when it's empty to about 10 volts when it's full. And by wobbling the float around, it was just flailing all over the place. And it's just this connection. So yes, the body of the fuel sender is the earth, and then all 3 of these wires are outputs. My car's only got one, which is just the fuel gauge. I guess the other one is like the fuel light and things like that. So that's what the problem is. I'll clean that up now. Oops, I'll get that cleaned up. And we're learning a little bit more. So it's not the spring, it's actually this. So it's basically the bore of that connects to that. So I need to clean the outside of this up. It's not the spring. Spring's insulated. So yeah, not much chance of it working really. Once there's a bit of corrosion, it was never going to work. So yeah, this is proper. I'll pull the spring off. But this all needs cleaning up. I need to get all the scum off of that. I've got a macro lens, but that's got to be cleaned up, get nice and shiny, and clean all this up. That's what the problem is. I guess what's becoming apparent is the whole thing's made of brass. And it makes contact. It does actually make contact through the spring. Let's try and hang up here. So it actually makes contact through the spring, basically on both sides. The whole thing's brass. It's obviously so corroded you can't tell, but the whole thing's brass. So that thing needs to be completely cleaned up. And that's why it doesn't work, because the whole thing's just a complete mess. Right, so I fixed it. So what I've learned is you need to make sure the arm is earth through the body of the unit. It's all made of brass. You need to make sure that it's clean on both sides. So the brass must be completely brass coloured. Originally that was white. The spring's conductive. That all has to be nice and clean. So it's earth through there. So what I'm doing here is a check. Got a meter lead on here and one on the body, and basically it's 0 ohms. It's dead short, which is what you'd expect it to be, which means it's got conductivity. And also as I move it, hopefully this will stay consistent. So as you see, as I move it around, the resistance is not changing, so it's making a good connection now between the body and up through the brass, as you'd expect. But that was the main problem. In terms of the values you get when this is working correctly, on my car, the Cosworth, it's using the top pin, which equates to the, where are we, top pin, which is green, the green wire. So do that, and against the body, and these are the values. So when it's empty, it's 267 ohms. When it's half full, about 50 ohms. And when it's full, it's 22 ohms. And those are the values you want.